Right. Okay. So we're back on.
That's going to come up a lot with your business.
Yes. Yeah. So Kelly was just telling me about have relationships on board and what that's like, and a tricky situation when you want to stay, continue in the industry, and then your partner wants to leave. So Kel's got a bit of experience in this department. It'd be interesting to hear from her what that was like for her, being in a relationship with someone on board.
Look, it was a wonderful experience. It was heartbreaking at times when we were together for quite a long time. When you're jumping from boat to boat and you try and find a job together, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and then you learn to love each other a lot more because you're away. But when you get to that point and one of them, so for me, my partner was a captain, and he had pretty much just started his captaincy in the industry, and I was ready to go. So that made it really hard to leave as well. Yeah, it was really hard because the only way for me to stay would have been to live in either Mallorca or somewhere near Antibes. And I don't have a British passport, or I've only got an Australian passport. So all of those complications came into it as well, because I couldn't stay on land and work. And I knew as well that going into the line of work that I wanted to do would be pretty hard in a foreign language. So yeah, it was just complicated. It was really complicated.
How long were you together for?
About 14 years.
14 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't realize. So how did you part ways in the end?
When I booked the course to come back.
Okay.
So I booked it because I just didn't know what else to do, to be honest. I knew I needed a certificate. I knew I wanted to work in food media. I knew I couldn't do it in the UK because he was still going to be at sea anyway. So I just had to make that choice. Yeah. I couldn't work over there legally. So it was just so complicated. And it was all geography, really, Yeah.
So do you think it's possible for another couple who are in the similar predicament that you were in? I mean, I guess you guys have been together for 14 years and there might have been rotation where you were away from each other, but how is that different to a relationship that you would have on land? Like, knowing what you've experienced like then and what you're experiencing in relationships you've had on land, like what are the added stresses to that relationship and what is that like?
When you're with someone at sea?
Yeah.
It can be wonderful if you're in a trustworthy relationship, and I was completely 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships that aren't, and there's got to be so much trust. That's the bottom line when you're doing that together. There's got to be so much trust and respect for each other. I think that's the only way to get through those big time slots apart. That's the only way, really. And lucky now we've got internet everywhere. I don't know if you get it on Atlantic crossings, but communicating's a lot easier now.
Yeah, and that's so important.
Getting my first email on a 50 metre.
Wow.
I am old.
Oh. Gosh, it's so interesting. Also, like, would it be something that you were talking about in your relationship about leaving?
Oh, constantly. And that was pretty much the only thing we ever argued about. Everything else in the relationship was wonderful, but that was the one thing that we just couldn't come to a solution with, because we knew, and we'd lived in a couple of places on land together, but it was always, short term. But there's the bottom line was it was just not legal for me to live over there, and that put pressure on us as well, and just no way around it. And especially with his career, the super yacht industry, as you know, in Australia is completely different.
Yeah.
So that would have been a big change for him.
So he's still a captain? Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's
really
brave of you to make that decision. It must have been horrendous at the time. Like, you must have been so torn.
It was. I was torn for years. And then also not having that outlet and having a counsellor that understood what it was like. I actually remember doing some research into Navy counselling. Counsellors for Navy crew. Because I remember looking into that when I was in Sydney and I moved, because I was just so desperate to talk to someone that understood, and even then it was hard.
Yeah,
To find a specialist that would get it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank goodness we've got this service up and running. So it's really exciting.
I know.
To help heaps of people, especially if it's so meaningful because we know what the experience is like, and you sometimes feel so alone. And
Totally.
like recently, well, just a couple of months ago, a huge survey was sent out by PYA about since the Me Too hashtag and the sexual harassment bullying. So people have now been speaking up, and they've been contributing their experiences through a survey, and it's apparently prolific.
Oh, I'm not surprised at all. At all. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then like, because I remember being nothing like that, thank goodness, happened to me, but I remember being really unwell in Italy, and we're trying to find doctors and just couldn't communicate to them. Like I couldn't explain to them what was happening.
Oh no.
It's such a language and cultural barrier that really puts you at such a disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's having someone that you can connect to and feel supported, which is...
Well, we didn't even have a union. I don't know if they do now, but on the super yachts when I worked on them, we didn't even have a union or a voice or anything. So, working all those hours and having to sign off that you're actually doing 8 hours or whatever it is, all of that goes on. You just cannot get away with that on land. And I have to admit, after all those years of working like that, I probably find it a little bit over the top on land sometimes. It's just like, oh, there's a rule for this. Oh, there's a rule for that, because, it's pretty, well, it was pretty loose on the super yachts. We didn't really have a voice to go to. So, yeah, I can remember working in galleys where the water was that, like, up to my ankles, and we just kept getting flooded, and you got to take care of it and put it in a shipyard because there was always other things that were more important. You just think of these things and think you would not get away with that.
Australia, they'll be like one finger, you'll be like huge.
I know, totally. Yep.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, different world.
Okay, well, thanks for that. That was really helpful.
That's okay. No worries.